Hey everybody out there in YouTube land. How's it going? Y'all having a good time? I'm having a great time. I had an awesome karaoke night. Fantastic, great, fantastic night. Uh, it was amazing. I gotta say, it was fantastic. The fourth best karaoke night of my entire life. And you're probably asking, Randy, well, how do you quantify that? Like, how do you tell what is like the fourth best karaoke night? How do you tell what's the first best or the second or the third? Well, I'll tell you, uh, the first best karaoke night of my entire life, I got $104 in one night for 4 hours worth of work. Now, the next two nights, I got $100. So we got 104, then 100, then 100. And tonight at karaoke, I made $60 in one night, 4 hours worth of work. Wasn't even work. Wasn't even work. I get paid to do what I love. That is what's really amazing, you know? Got $60. I gave Big Mungus approves of the grind. Yeah. And again, it's something I love to do. I love to do it. It's fun, and I get paid for it. It's awesome. So again, Big Bungus, I got $60 tonight. I mean, technically only 51 because 59 because I gave this one bum $1. He asked for $1, and I was like, yeah, sure, here you go. Yeah, fantastic night. Karaoke was awesome. I actually did, in fact, get a number, and there's this girl I met. She wants to come to the writers group, so I gave her the address and the days and the writers group's meeting. So hopefully she comes down and says hello and checks it out. And yeah, I got a number. Her name was Noelle, and she's really cool. And yeah, she's gonna give me a call sometime. She already texted me her email, and she wants to read my Cameo Man script. Oh, yeah. So there you go. Yeah. So tonight was an amazing night. Big Bungus, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you have any topics. But yeah, this karaoke night was epic. It was amazing. Tons and tons of cool people, tons of babes there, tons of babes all over the freaking place. And, they were hugging me and, just tons of cool stuff. So, gotta say, that was a good night. It was a good night. And Big Bungus, you said you wanted to watch a stream that was just Randy. So now you are on the Just Randy stream. Oh. Ooh. So, while I'm here, I might as well do a review of Ahsoka episode 8. Thrawn is not a tactical genius in this series. In the series, I was just about to ask you about your thoughts on Ahsoka. So yeah, Thrawn in Ahsoka is an idiot. He is a big, dumb, gigantic idiot. All he has to do is kill 3 people, 3, and one of them's not even a Jedi. And the other one is a Jedi, but doesn't even use a lightsaber. So Thrawn has thousands of troops at his disposal. He has dozens of TIE fighters. He has witches who can conjure weapons out of thin air. And those stormtroopers, like the 1,000 stormtroopers, they can't die. They cannot die. You can shoot them and kill them, and they will come back. And still, and Thrawn has a ship that's bigger than Las Vegas, with tons of cannons that lightsabers cannot deflect. And still, after all that, Thrawn cannot kill 3 people. Give me a break. And what's his big plan? Send 2 fighters out to dispatch them. Okay, they send two fighters out. Nothing happens. Then they send Morgan Elsbeth out. Morgan Elsbeth dies. And when they hear Morgan Elsbeth died, you know what Thrawn says? Oh, yes, she did just as I intended. Or no, he said like, oh yeah, I remember what he said. She did exactly as what was required. And I'm like, no, no. What was required was for Morgan Elsbeth to kill Ahsoka and her two friends. That's like if I sent an assassin out to kill the president of Jerkistan, and then the assassin dies, and somebody goes, "Oh, Randy, you know that assassin you sent? Uh, he died." It's like, oh, he did exactly as required. No, that was not what was required. Dying was not what was required. Your target was to be destroyed, not for you to die and not kill your target. Well, remember, Thrawn's priority was getting out the planet and back to the Star Wars galaxy. He didn't want to risk too many of his limited resources. Okay. At the end of the day, he was just buying himself time and keeping the Jedi at bay so he can escape. He knows Morgan isn't going to kill Ahsoka because she's Anakin's apprentice. Didn't you see how he shook when he was learned Anderson was his master? Laughed my ass off. Again, Thrawn in the TV series is painted as a tactical genius. Again, I think if he was a tactical genius, he could kill 3 people who, I mean, I'm sorry, Big Bungus. I just was not impressed. I mean, his soldiers literally cannot die. They can't die. You could shoot them and run them through with the lightsaber, and they're still alive. They're undead. I don't know. After all that, I don't know. I'll be watching season 2. Well, not all the night troopers, only the ones resurrected by the Great Mothers. All right. Well, anyways, yeah. Those are my thoughts on Ahsoka. I did watch a new movie. I'm trying to remember what it was that I could talk to you all about. Can't think of it. So, a lot of you don't know, yesterday was Amy Jo Johnson's B-Day. So, Amy Jo Johnson is now 53 years old, and she still looks amazing and beautiful. So yeah. And a lot of people, and also, Amy Jo Johnson, next year is releasing her comic. It is a prelude to the Power Rangers comic. She wrote it, and some guy drew it, and I'm going to be buying that as soon as it comes out. Now, Amy Jo Johnson has made a movie called The Space Between, and I really want to see that because I'm a big Amy Jo Johnson fan, but it is not out on streaming and it's not out on DVD. I'm like, Amy, come on. I want to see this. I want to see your comic. So, damn, has it really only been 9 minutes? Did I start late or something? Feels like I've been on here for at least 20. I do not know what's going on with that. This might be a short stream. So, Big Bungus, did you have anything else to talk about? Because, besides the cashola, I really don't have that much to talk about. Let me bring up the movies that not a lot of people have seen. I do think it's silly, but we have to remember that people are not 3 ordinary people. You're the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi Padawan, beat Thrawn before, and a Mandalorian Jedi. Fair enough. Yep. So I'm going to talk about some actresses. I wanted to talk about this in Fear's stream, but I mean, Fear's didn't even get to the Night at the Museum review. But as we all know, I love Amy Jo Johnson. She's one of my favorite actresses of all time. I want to talk about some other actresses that I like that deserve honorable mentions. Number one is Tina Cote. Tina Cote is hot. She's beautiful. And if you all have seen Cameo Man and you've seen the character Julie, Julie's look, the short hair, the pencil thin eyebrows, the pouty lips, Julie's look is completely inspired by Tina Cote. Tina Cote is a B-movie actress. She's amazingly hot. I mean, her entire body is amazing, and you get to see it in some movies. And she is who I would choose to play Julie in real life if Cameo Man ever got made into a live action movie. And Tina Cote does not have a lot of credits. She only has 17 credits to her name, plus a Tostitos ad and a spot on Baywatch one time. But since she has so few credits, I actually memorized the list. And, whenever I'm bored or whenever I'm waiting for something, as a little memory exercise, I go over the list. And her 17 movies are this: Interceptor, which she only had a role as a body double in that one, LA Story, Mobsters, Marilyn and Me, Mambo Kings, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Dark Side of a Genius, Spitfire, Nemesis 2, Nebula, Heat Seeker, Just Looking, Barbed Wire, Omega Doom, Blast, Mean Guns, Sorcerers, and Skippy. Sorcerers did not get made. It did not get made into a movie. And she is the one of the favorite actresses of one of my favorite B-movie directors, a guy called Albert Pyun. That's Albert Pyun, Pyun. I thought his name was Pyun for a long time, but he's a Hawaiian director. Unfortunately, he stopped making movies a few years ago because he got MS really bad, and he's shaking, and his disability has really affected his directing, so he hasn't been directing anymore. Hoping we'll see more of Thrawn in season 2. He was great in Rebels when he was introduced as the big bad in season 3. Yeah, in Rebels he was good. In Rebels, yeah. Do I look like Elon Musk? This is somebody said that to me today, and this is the second time somebody said that in 3 days. I was like, I don't think I look like Elon Musk. I like Elon Musk. I would love his money. Yeah. Hey, Elon, if you need a body double, I will do it. But yeah, I don't think I look like Elon Musk. But hey, whatever. So yeah, Tina Cote is a really good actress, and the thing about Tina Cote is that you've seen Rebels. Yeah, I've seen Rebels. I actually watched. I got the DVD of Rebels, and I watched the first episode. I thought I was getting the entire season, and when I went home and I popped in the DVD, I realized that entire DVD set was just for the first episode. And I was like, are you kidding me? I paid $20 for one episode of Rebels. That sucks ass. So I have seen a few other episodes here and there, very, very sparsely, but I did see Rebels. I'll do a review on Rebels later sometime. But I want to go through this list. So Tina Cote, again, amazing actress. She does a lot of roles where she's uncredited and where she's, but she is an amazing actress. She's so beautiful, and she's really good, And I'd say some of the best movies that she ever did was Dark Side of the Genius, which was it was about this crazy painter. He kills his muse, and then he gets out of prison, and he's back in demand again. And he meets another woman who looks exactly like his muse, and he gets obsessed with her, and he tries to kill her as well. Obviously, she didn't hear about the first woman, so yeah. But yeah. And then there is Fairuza Balk. Fairuza Balk hasn't been in much, but she's memorable in everything she's in. She actually replaced the woman who played Dorothy in the sequel to Wizard of Oz called Return of Oz. If you haven't seen Return of Oz, that was a mind trip of a movie. Mind trip. Oh my God. Return to Oz, there was this queen, and she was beheaded, and she stayed alive due to magic. And she had about 24 heads in glass cases that she could swap out whenever she wanted to. And each of the heads was like a different face and a different hairstyle. I'm like, that is trippy as fuck. I mean, that was amazing. And then you have the Goblin King, and the Goblin King's face appears in stone, and they animated it. And then they got the Scarecrow, and the Scarecrow actually has a pumpkin head this time. And the head is hollow, and sometimes a rat will go into it and stay in there and come out at will. And yeah, Return to Oz was a trippy ass movie. Trippy. And then Fairuza Balk's most famous role that she's known for is The Craft. The Craft was a movie about 4 girls who decide they want to be witches, and they place curses on everybody in their high school, and everybody was mean to them. Gets cursed and bad things happen to them. One of these girls makes fun of this other girl's hair, so the girl curses her, and she starts losing all of her hair. So, and it was one of the actresses from Hey Dude. I don't know if any of you remember Hey Dude. Hey Dude was a show on Nickelodeon. It was like a Western theme. It was about people at a dude ranch, and I think Stephen Tobolowsky was the guy who ran the dude ranch. And then one of the girls from The Craft was in the cast of that. Yeah, that was a pretty good show. So, and the last movie that I remember, I'm sorry, I went to karaoke tonight, and people were just smoking all over the place, and I still got some of that smoke smell on me, and it's like going up my nose and stuff, so gotta pardon me. But yeah, the last movie I remember Fairuza Balk in was The Island of Dr. Moreau. I believe The Island of Dr. Moreau was a remake, and Jim Henson's company did the creature effects for that movie. And it was one of the last movies that Marlon Brando was in. And in that movie, Marlon Brando had his lines read to him through an earpiece. And that was one of his big quirks. He said after a while he stopped learning his lines, and he just had an earpiece, and they just read it to him. And I think that may be why he wore this hat, and there was like a scarf over the hat that like went around his neck. So I think like that hid the earpiece. I think that was the reason for that costume choice. I'm just really realizing that now in the last 20 seconds. But yeah, that's probably why he had the scarf. And then the last person I want to talk about is Patsy Kensit. Oh my God, Patsy Kensit is a gem. She's an icon. She was in Lethal Weapon 2. She played Rika Vendenhaas. And she is probably my favorite British actress of all time. Again, just like Tina Cote and Amy Jo Johnson, she's been in a lot of B movies. I mean, besides Lethal Weapon 2, she really hasn't been anything that big. She's done like a lot of lower echelon movies. There was this one movie she was good in. It was called Kleptomania. And there's this rich housewife and this prostitute, and they meet and they decide they want to be best friends, and they both are kleptomaniacs. They're stealing stuff left and right. And and Amy Irving, who was Steven Spielberg's wife for a while, is the rich housewife, and then Patsy Kensit was the prostitute. And Patsy Kensit's boyfriend got hung from a lamppost in the very beginning of the movie, and yeah, it was pretty intense scene. And again, Patsy Kensit and Amy Irving meet, and the Amy Irving character wants to learn how to steal properly because Patsy Kensit is really good at stealing. She knows how to pickpocket and take people's scars without them looking, and take their watches without them knowing, and bracelets and earrings and stuff. And it was a pretty good movie, and Patsy Kensit was good in it. Amy Irving, probably the only Amy Irving movie that I like. I don't think Amy Irving has been in much, even though she was Steven Spielberg's wife for a while. So now I'm going to go from actresses I like to movies you probably never heard of. All right. And a lot of actresses like Amy Jo Johnson, Tina Cote, Farrah Zabal, and Patsy Kensit are on this list of movies. All right. I'm gonna delete Ghoulies and Munchies because I talked about those two on Fierce's podcast. So I'm going to talk about some movies that probably none of you have ever seen. The first one is Phantom of the Paradise. I talk about this movie all the time. The soundtrack is fire. If you like the Beach Boys, if you like surfing music, you will freaking love the soundtrack to this. What Phantom of the Paradise is about? It's about this composer. He falls in love with a singer. The singer is nice to him, and he basically sells his soul to the devil to write the greatest disco opera of all time. And he sells his soul, and he gets gypped. So he tries to kill the record producer that stole his work. He is going to sabotage the factory and destroy the record making machine so he can't make any records. Things go awry, and he gets his face caught in the record printing press, and he gets hideously disfigured. And he goes to prison where they remove all his teeth, and he goes back to the Paradise, which is the record producer's stadium arena where he does all the music. And the record producer, again, agrees to help him out if he doesn't kill people. And I think this is the part where he sells his soul to the devil. I think, yeah. And anyways, so it's, if you haven't guessed by now, it's a disco version of Phantom of the Opera. And all the music is done by a very famous 60s, 70s songwriter called Paul Williams. If you don't know who Paul Williams is, Paul Williams played the Penguin in the Batman, the animated series. So that's who that is. And Paul Williams, he's an interesting fellow because I've heard he's quite prickly, pretty abrasive guy. There was a documentary that came out about him called, I think it was called Paul Williams is Still Alive, something like that. And he's very mean, and I don't know if it's an act. I don't think Paul Williams would be mean. I don't know if it's an act, but Yeah, he's very jerkwad in this. He's pretty much of a jerk in the in the documentary. The next one is another Phantom movie. This one's called The Phantom, and it is based off the cartoon Phantom 2040. But for some reason, Phantom 2040 is about a guy in the future. He's rich and he fights crime in a costume. That's pretty much the crux of his character. And he had some powers bestowed upon him by natives. And the Phantom, the movie, stars Billy Zane. And in the movie, again, it's set in the 40s. Don't know why they did that. That's quite a twist. I mean, the Phantom 2040 cartoon was really popular. I don't know why they would, set it in the 40s when everybody loves the 2040 version. But yeah, they set it in the 40s, and it's a pretty good movie. I really dug the costume that Billy Zane wore. The costume in the cartoon is actually very simple. It's a purple outfit with a black Speedo and two guns and holsters on the side. But in the movie, the costume has kind of like a skeleton-ish type emblazoned on it. Has like kind of like a weird pattern, and it looks really cool. And the movie was good. And the villain, played by Treat Williams, probably the best thing Treat Williams has ever been in. I can't think of anything else he's ever been in. But yeah, The Phantom, and it had Christy Swanson in it. I don't know if any of you remember Christy Swanson. Christy Swanson was the woman who played Buffy in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. And she's pretty cute, pretty cool, and she's a strong, independent woman in the 40s in this movie. And, she played it really well. The next movie is a Mario Van Peebles movie, which also has Patsy Kensit in it. And it is called Full Eclipse. And it's a pretty good movie. Basically, Full Eclipse is about a cop. His partner gets hospitalized, and then a day after his hospitalization, he comes out of his coma, and he goes back to work, and it's like he's a freaking super cop. Mario Van Peebles and his partner get in a shootout, and the cop goes crazy. The bad guys take off, and the cop is running after him, and he's actually catching up to him. And like Mario Van Peebles is like, "What the hell is going on here?" And then like he's running after the car, he catches up with it on foot, jumps on top of the truck, jumps over the truck, jumps into the car, and kills everybody. And Mario Van Peebles goes to the guy, and he was like, "What is with you, man? You were in a coma like 24 hours ago. Now you're like some freaking super cop." And then the partner's like, "Hey, man, I got a hold of this drug. You need to check it out. Oh, man, it jacks you up. It makes you like Superman." So Mario Van Peebles, and then the partner gets killed randomly. And so Mario Van Peebles goes to visit the person that the cop was a part of a group of, like a 12 steps group. He goes in, and there's Bruce Payne, who was he's a pretty evil looking dude. He was the bad guy in Passenger 57. He was the guy, he played Charles Rain, the guy that smashed the guy's face against the table and said, "Now say Charles Rain is not insane." Yeah, so he's part of the 12-step group. They start taking drugs, and the drugs make them like Supermen. And it's really kind of an X-Men-ish type group. They all wear like X-Men type outfits. And Patsy Kensit is part of the group. She has sex with Mario Van Peebles. And at the end of the movie, we learn that Max Payne's character is actually a werewolf. and he is shooting up everybody with secretions from the inside of his brain. And when you do that, it makes you superheroes. And then Bruce Payne is also a werewolf. And yeah, it's a crazy, trippy movie. And the reason it's called Full Eclipse is because werewolves can only be killed when they're shot through a silver bullet in a full eclipse. So, you know, if it's, I mean, you can kill him with a silver bullet, except every time on a full eclipse. So yeah, it's a pretty trippy movie. Pretty trippy. So we covered Dark Side of a Genius. The next one is Nemesis. I'm going to talk about Nemesis 1 and Nemesis 2 because they're completely different movie, have completely different protagonists, and there's tons of different people in there. So in Nemesis 1, Nemesis came out around the time of Terminator. And basically, Nemesis was about a society of machines that had taken over society, and they were trying to kill all the last humans. There's this guy who plays the last human. The character's name is Alex, and he is trying to bring back humans into the world. The cyborgs don't like that. They try to kill him. And he teams up with this girl who has sensational abs. Her name in the movie was Maxi Pad, believe it or not. Yeah, that was her name. And I could not believe that shit. I was laughing my ass off when I heard that name. I was like, her name is Maxi Pad? Really? Gotta be kidding me. But yeah, a lot of the effects weren't super amazing, but they were good for the time that they were made. And the thing about Nemesis 2 and Nemesis 1 is that they were a lot of practical effects. So even though the effects weren't top notch, they were still pretty good for the day. And again, Nemesis 1 and Nemesis 2 were both Albert Pyun movies. A lot of people don't know that Cyborg was also directed by Albert Pyun, and the original movie Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme was actually supposed to be Masters of the Universe 2. But they noticed that almost nothing in this movie had anything to do with any of the actual He-Man characters. So what they did is they took the script, they altered some of the characters, changed some of the names, and had Albert Pyun direct the sequel. And then they decided they didn't want it to be a sequel anymore. So they changed the name and they called it Cyborg. And Cyborg, again, if you watch it, that was actually supposed to be Masters of the Universe 2, but it didn't pan out. Okay. And Nemesis 2, again, has a completely different cast. Alex, the superhuman from the first one, had a baby, and the mother took the baby back in time to around 1986, 1987. Took him to Africa. The girl grew up with the African tribe, and she was genetically superior to everybody else. So in the movie, she's built like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and she's played by a woman called Sue Price. Sue Price was like a Miss Olympia, and she's very muscular, very well built, very strong. And basically, Sue Price or Alex in this movie is also called Alex. And she's hunted by a cyborg called Nebula, which is a time-traveling cyborg. And Nebula has a sucker in his, not like a sucker that you eat, but like a vacuum in his claws, and he can grab you, and that vacuum will go into you, and it will suck out your blood, and it will shoot it out of Nebula's elbow. So needless to say, it's a pretty horrific way to die. Getting your blood sucked out of your body and spewed out somebody's elbow. I mean, now that I say that, it sounds ridiculous, but it's quite horrific when you see it in action. Quite horrific. And then next up is a movie from my favorite actress, Amy Jo Johnson, called Susie Q. Susie Q is based on the hit song of the same name. Susie Q is about a woman. She's 18. She's going to the prom with her boyfriend, and before she goes out with her boyfriend, she visits her grandpa. Grandpa's in the closet looking for something, and he says it's very important. And then Susie gets called down to be with her boyfriend. They leave. And then Susie and her boyfriend, and this takes place in the 50s, by the way, just so you know. So they're going down this bridge, and she says, "Dude, stop the car." And her boyfriend's like, "What? What's wrong?" And she goes, My grandpa was looking for something, and he said it was really important. And I got a really bad feeling, and I really want to go back. And it's like, Susie, if it really was important, your mom is there. She'll help him find whatever he needs. Just don't worry about it. And she's like, oh, I guess you're right. So he tries to start the car back up. Car won't start. And then there's these people coming down the road. And she's like, oh my God, they're not stopping. It's like, start the car. And it's like, I'm trying. So the drunk people hit the car. Susie's car goes off the bridge into the water, kills her and her boyfriend. And then the story takes place 40 years later. There's this kid and his sister, and they're fishing. And the kid, played by Justin Whalen, who was Jimmy Olsen in the Superman and Lois, The Adventures of Lois and Clark. He finds the bracelet, and after he finds the bracelet, he goes to bed, and then he finds this woman playing basketball out on his front porch, and he goes, who are you? And she goes, you can see me? And it's like, yeah, I can see you. You're a human being. Why wouldn't I be able to see you? And then it turns out that Susie is a ghost, and that Susie's main mission in life is to help the kid get through his tests and his grades and stuff. And it's really kind of like a ghost type story. And then Susie has to find out why she died, and how to get back to the afterlife. And it's a pretty cool movie. And again, it's based on the song of the same name. So I got 2 more movies coming up, and then this will be it. So the last 2 movies, there's one movie called Cherry 2000. All right. Cherry 2000 takes place in year 2000, and this movie was made in like 1984. So this was like 16 years far in the future for 1984. So everybody thought in 1984 that in the year 2000, cyborgs would be a big thing, and they were and it's so dangerous to have sex in the year 2000, according to people in 1984, that, love bots are made popular. So this guy has a love droid. Her name is Cherry 2000, and they're making love, and water spills all over the kitchen, and the android short circuits. So the guy takes his love droid to the dealer, and he says, oh, we don't have any Cherry 2000 models anymore. You got her AI on a disc, but apparently this droid has had it. She's done for. There's nothing it can do. I was like, wow, but I really want the Cherry 2000 models. So he says, I know a guy. It's in the Outlands, and the Outlands is like a desert, like post-apocalyptic type place. So he goes, I know a guy. They got a Cherry 2000 model there. You can go check her out, and you can insert the disc, and you can have your love droid again. So he goes on this big, long journey, and he meets Melanie Griffith along the way. She's a tracker, and she helps him through the Outlands, and he helps him survive and stuff. And Cherry 2000 is one of those movies that is very formulaic because Cherry 2000 is one of those movies where a guy's lusting after a girl and he meets another girl and the other girl tries to help him get this girl. And eventually he abandons the Cherry 2000 model and goes with Melanie Griffith instead. There was another movie like that with a genie, and the genie was a girl, and this guy wishes that he could be with this other girl, and she's like, "Oh, I can't make her fall in love with you, but I can make you really cultured, and I can teach you all this stuff." And in the movie of the genie, the guy dates the other girl, and he decides he doesn't want her, and he decides he wants to be with the genie. So it's one of those typical stories. It was one of those typical stories, real back big in the 80s, where the jock goes for the hot girl, and then like the nerdy girl helps the jock out, and then the jock just decides he wants to go with the nerd girl instead of the hot girl. It's one of those classic stories. And the same thing can be said of the movie Circuitry Man, which is the last one on the list. Circuitry Man is about a guy. He needs to make it across the Badlands, and he teams up with a droid, and the droid is actually also a love bot, and he's lusting after this woman, but the thing is, the woman he's lusting after doesn't exist. It's just a program in his mind to keep him getting suckered by the gangsters in this underworld. And by the way, in Circuitry Man, you can't live above ground. The entire movie takes place in lower levels of the cities that are built underground. And if you go topside, you got to have oxygen put into your nose. You got to have tubes put into your nose. And the only way you can breathe topside is by having oxygen machines, stuff like that. So the robot helps out this dude get across the Outlands. And again, he eventually falls in love with a different woman. But the highlight of this movie is a gangster called Plughead. Plughead is super creepy. He's super charismatic. He's a weird dude. And the reason they call him Plugheads is because in this future society, you can plug in jacks into your head, and it'll teach you. I mean, it'll be like virtual reality, and you can live out whatever fantasy you want, and you can actually control machines by jacking in. So it's a pretty cool movie. Post-apocalyptic, 80s sci-fi, fantastic movie. There's a Circuitry Man 1 and a Circuitry Man 2. I recommend them both. So, yeah, let's see where I'm at. So that is 43 minutes. I think I'm going to go. I just wanted to let you know I had an awesome night at Karaoke Tonight. It was fantastic. Made $60. Again, I gave $1 to a homeless guy because that's how much he asked me for. But it was a great night. I had a great time. And if any of you have any questions, I'm going to stay on for another minute and a half. And I'll answer any questions you have. But thank you all for showing up. If you got any questions, let them rip right now. But again, made $60 in one night for 4 hours worth of work. You know, like somebody posted on my on the Discord meme is like, I made 25 cents just by picking up a penny. And if you see how much that is, that's like $40 an hour. I was like, that doesn't bother me because I'm making way more than 25 cents. I'm making like $60 for 4 hours worth of work. You know, it's not 25 cents. It's a little bit more than 25 cents. And again, in 2020, I made $168 doing magic. Then in 2021, I made double that. In 2022, I made double that. And the way I'm going, I am on track to make double that this year. So my goal for this year is $1,334, which is 168 times 4. And no, wait, that's not right. That's 168 times 8. Yeah, so it's 168 times 2 times 2 times 2. So that's how much I am on track to make. And then my goal for next year is again to make double that. And I have gotten a job teaching people, and I am teaching people magic, and they are paying me quite handsomely for it. But yeah, I'm making the moolah, making the money. Yeah. I mean, damn, the blingage. Bling, 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 bling. Got 10, 10, 10, 20, and then 9. So it's been a good night. This is the 4th best night of all time. And again, the way I'm getting that figure is I got 104 on one night. That was the best night. Got $100 on one night, another $100 on one night. This night, besides those 3 nights, this has been the best night it's been. So yeah, Big Bungus. I'll do a Rebels review sometime later in the week. I need to watch more of it. Again, I've only seen the first episode and like 2 or 3 other episodes, but yeah, that's all I got to say. My name is Randy Brown for Cammy Man 2021 and the Mara Magic, and I will see you all later, alligator. All right, bye.